A few hours ago, Pulsar, Riot, and the legend of Valorant himself, Tenz, just announced this, the new Pulsar Tenz Signature Edition gaming mouse. This is the first gaming mouse Tenz has actually played a part in designing. But wait, why should you even care? Well, Tenz is one of the greatest Valorant players and aimers to ever touch the game. But not only is he a 2-times international masters winner, he is one of the most knowledgeable pros when it comes to gaming mice.
I think mice are in a way where there's a mouse for everyone and you just need to find the right one.
He is the reason more pros started using more niche enthusiast gaming mice, and he made mice like the Endgame Gear XM1, the Lamzu Atlantis, and the Ninjutsu Sora become not just popular among us enthusiasts and nerds, but among professional players too. Your favorite pro players don't follow reviewers, they follow pro players like Tenz. That's aura. So is this new 130 USD gaming mouse any good? Now, there's only going to be 500 units of this in its initial sale, with a more general release coming in April 14th. First things first is that shape is king. Now with Tenz, he consistently swaps between many different gaming mice, but in the last couple of years, the 3 most famous mice that he has made are the Endgame Gear XM1, which he won his first Masters with, the Lamzu Atlantis, which he made very popular, and later on the Ninjutsu Sora V2, which he won the other Masters trophy with. And this mouse feels a little bit like those style of gaming mice, but mixed with the Pulsar X2H. Let me explain. This mouse is essentially if the Lamzu Atlantis and the Pulsar X2H had a baby, and the baby was a little bit fatter. It's of a similar length and actually similar width to the Pulsar X2H, with a off-center hump that is rear bias. The hump curves down a lot more gently than the X2H does, and that's more like the Lamzu Atlantis in that regard, but still it's even gentler than that, giving you a higher click height than what you get on the Atlantis or the Pulsar. At the rear of the click, it's about 35mm tall, and at the front, lowest point of the click, it's about 14mm tall. As for the sides, there is a slight curve inward, but it's rounded and puffy, which makes it more like a Lamzu Atlantis in that regard, but it's also even puffier than the Atlantis, so it feels like there's a little bit more volume there. And of course, it does flare out towards the rear and the front, but because it's not a big flare like you get on the Atlantis that's quite sharp, or a big flare that you get on the X2H that feels very bulbous, the sides actually feel slightly grooved, but generally quite flat, meaning that on this mouse it's kind of a blank slate. It's puffy and flat everywhere, so you can really have flexibility for any sort of finger placement, from fingertip grips to tilt claw, and most prominently for Tenz, relaxed claw grip. I personally do think though that this hump being big, puffy, and towards the rear does get a little obtrusive if you have a more aggressive claw grip and your hands aren't much bigger than say 21-22 centimeters long. This mouse does fill out my 19.5 centimeter long hands, and while it is puffy, it doesn't feel bulbous at any point, unlike the X2H that just kind of feels like a bumblebee looks. This overall large volume and rather puffy shape, for my hands at least, subjective of course, does make for great supportiveness, making flicks and tech shooters like Valorant very enjoyable and quite nice. But I have to say, it does make it more restrictive for me to micro adjust with this gaming mouse, since its bigger volume makes it harder for me to have small adjustments with my fingers. So when I play high sensitivity in a game like Marvel Rivals with a lot of micro adjustments and tracking, it just isn't a very good fit. As for size recommendations, I personally think this is a claw grip shape first and foremost, and I would say that for claw grip, it's going to be comfortable for hand sizes 17.5 centimeters and bigger. If you do have shorter fingers or your hands are on the smaller side, this back hump that's a bit big might make it awkward for you, however, so look out for that. For fingertip grip, it works for my 19.5 centimeters and my friend's 17.5 centimeters hands pretty well. though the hump and height might not be very ideal for smaller hands to fingertip grip. If you have hands 18 centimeters or longer, I would generally be okay with fingertip gripping this. For palm grip, this mouse isn't the most ideal because it does have quite a big hump, and when you try to force your hand flat in a palm grip on this mouse, it does kind of get in the way and arch your wrist a little bit. But its flatter, generic shape that isn't too curvy or offensive makes it acceptable. I can imagine people with smaller hands palming this, especially if your hands are not longer than 20 centimeters. As for the clicks, these use Pulsar's optical switches, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think they're just okay. The pre-travel is okay, but there is a noticeably large amount of post-travel, and I personally think the clicks themselves are a little too stiff for my liking. However, I'm not going to knock Pulsar down fully on this one because I have a feeling that this squishy post-travel might be intentional. Pulsar's kind of figured out their clicks in recent times and they've gotten a little better with it, so I think this kind of squishy post-travel might be a Tenz preference thing. I haven't had the chance to clarify with Pulsar on this, and if they do give me a reply, I'm going to tell you guys in the comments. But considering Tenz used to use Zowie mice back in his CS days, these clicks do kind of give off a Zowie vibe where you can press down really hard on it and it'll kind of squish a little bit with post travel, so maybe that's the reason. The thumb buttons are really crisp with minimal wobble or post travel, and the scroll wheel is a nice, very solid feeling TTC Gold encoder. It's curious why he didn't use a Pulsar encoder here. I personally prefer that to this, but trust a pro. The coating is also identical to the X2H V3, making it reasonably grippy, with a shape like this that's quite big, with a lot of volume and has a lot of contact, especially if you use it in the intended relaxed claw grip. You're gonna have pretty good grip even with slightly damp hands. As for weight, this mouse is a pretty light 47 grams when you use the included dot skates, and 48.1 grams with stock feet that are pre-attached. And its weight is pretty evenly centered with no real balance problems. And the stock feet are alright with a decent standard glide that I think is going to appeal to most people. The sensor is a 3950 based Pulsar XS1 as usual, and it does come with an 8K Hz dongle included in the box, which means you get excellent wireless performance with no latency issues, and battery life has been decent so far even at 8K Hz. In the last 2 days I've been using this mouse, I haven't had to charge it, and I've been using it very heavily to get this review out on time. Build quality is also solid. There really isn't any flex to it unless I press really hard, which is not fair, and there aren't holes on the bottom as well, which is nice to see from Pulsar. It also comes with nice accessories like a Tenz player card that's kind of cute, and dot skates, though if I were to nitpick here, I really wish Pulsar would include some super grip tapes, even a small tiny sliver in the box, just for people that like grip tape and just to get people hooked on super grips. So my thoughts? Well, I like this gaming mouse. For tech shooters, it's a solid gaming mouse designed for a relaxed claw grip that is kind of between the very generic G Pro egg-shaped mouse and the very low profile clicks, super lean, focused claw grip shapes of the Atlantis, X2H, Sora, XM2, and even to a certain extent the Zowie U2. Now, if the Atlantis shapes are kind of too low for you, too lean, too slim for you with not enough support, but the GPX is kind of too fat and too high for you, I think the Tenz Special Edition kind of goes in between those two genres and is a solid pick. If you have a relaxed claw grip just like Tenz, you'll probably be a great fit. You'll probably be an even better fit as well. $130 though is a little steeper than Pulsar's typical pricing of $100 for their standard gaming mice. But Pulsar's justification for this is $20 for the 8000 Hz dongle, which is the price of it standalone, $10 for the included dot skates, and $100 for the mouse by default. And of course, they need some fat margins to pay for Tenz's skin. So what do you think? Do you like this gaming mouse? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.